How advanced the world is going to be in the upcoming years, decades, or centuries. Does the realization ever hit you that we're going to miss out on so much, just like the ones before us missed out on the things we have today? This is the movie that somehow triggers that realization. Let's dive into it. Welcome to Box Recaps. In today's video, we'll be going through the 2019 film Alita: Battle Angel. It's time to recall. Let's get started. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. In 2563, 300 years after Earth was devastated by a catastrophic war known as the Fall, scientist Dr. Dyson Ito discovers a disembodied female cyborg with an intact human brain, while scavenging for parts in the massive scrapyard of Iron City. Despite it being in a really bad condition, its brain is still intact. Ito brings it home as she's still alive, and repairs it right away. Ito attaches a new cyborg body to the brain and names her Alita, after his deceased daughter. When the cyborg wakes up, she gets out of bed with wobbly legs and checks herself out in the mirror. The cyborg then goes downstairs and sees the man who saved her and brought her there. Ito sees that she's up and goes to her to see if she's alright. As he inspects her, she tells him that she's hungry. Ito then peels an orange for her. As he does that, she asks him if she knows him, or if he somehow knows her. She realizes that she does not remember anything, and the realization of having lost her memory makes her cry. Ito consoles her by saying that she will start remembering things gradually. She goes outside and is amazed to see a city in the air. Ito then goes on to give Alita a tour of the city and tells her how everyone came there to the Iron City after the fall, but none of them are allowed to go to Zalem. Alita then notices a screen on which a sports show named Motorball is on. As Ito sees Alita's eyes set on the screen, he tells her that it's not worth watching. Alita then gets some food and goes on to share it with a dog as well. As she does that, she sees a poster for a wanted man who murdered 6 women. We then see a big police robot known as the Centurion arrive. Alita does not step away and rather starts to get ready for battle, and as she gets into her fighting pose, this is when a young man named Hugo pushes her away to safety. Alita then notices that the dog is still in the robot's way and it could get hurt, so she goes back to protect the dog. As Hugo takes a close look at Alita, he realizes that she is a cyborg, and Ito in the meantime gets back and tells him that she's new in town. It seems like Alita likes Hugo, the way she looks at him when Ito pulls her away to get back home. That night, a woman is attacked by someone. The very same night, Alita notices Ito getting back home with blood on his clothes. When she wakes up in the morning, she goes to Ito, who's inspecting a cyborg patient. Alita notices that his arm is injured. The cyborg patient tells Ito that he's a victim of cyborg body part stealers. The cyborg also talks about the serial killer out there, and Ito right away tells Alita to be prudent while she's out there. While Alita goes outside, she runs into a woman named Shiren, who observes her very closely. Alita gets weirded out by her and right away walks away. Shiren notices that Alita is in Ito's deceased daughter's body, and right away goes to see Ito and asks him about Alita. Shiren realizes that Ito is still unable to let go of his beloved daughter's memory, and still mourns her death. The woman then asks Ito if he wants to work with her to create motorball champions. She wants to do that to earn money in order to be able to go to Zalem. She tells him that Vector might help him with this, but Ito right away tells her not to waste her time and effort on this because there's no way they can go back to Zalem. On the other hand, as Alita walks in the streets, she finds Hugo playing motorball, and he asks her if she would like to join them. Alita is, however, unable to adjust and right away gets slammed into a pole. As she's about to score a point, a boy named Tanji snatches the ball away from her and knocks her down as he scores a point. Alita gets pissed off and kicks Tanji on the feet, and as he tumbles, she takes the ball and scores a point. After they're done playing, Hugo offers her a ride to home, and she agrees. They now start to bond, and Hugo then shows her a man known as the Bounty Hunter. People also call him the Hunter Warrior. As he walks past them, Alita takes a close look at his sword. The next day, Alita again hangs out with Hugo, who takes her to a nice spot where they can see Zalem. Hugo expresses that he wants to live there one day, and tells her that since she was found in a scrapyard, she must have come from Zalem as well. Later that night, Alita does not go to sleep, as she wants to see what Ito's up to. As Ito goes out that night, Alita follows him and sees that he is stalking a woman who's wearing a cloak. As Ito is ready to take a shot with his weapon, Alita stops him, only to find out that they're in a trap. They're trapped by Romo and Grishka, who recognize Ito as the Hunter Warrior. As Ito tries to fight them off, the woman in the cloak reveals herself to be an enemy named Nisiana. When Ito sees that he is vastly outnumbered and there's no way out of there, he shouts at Alita to run for her life. But Alita instinctively fights using Panzerkunst, a lost art for machine bodies, as she goes on to attack Romo and punches him to death. Nisiana sees this and right away gets into her cyborg body as she attacks Alita. She swings her blade at Alita. Ito, on the other hand, tries to attack Grishka, but he's no match for the monster, who pins him to the wall and asks him to just watch the woman fight. As Nisiana swings at her, Alita manages to fend off those attacks and manages to land a super kick, which is curtains for Nisiana. Seeing that Nisiana is done, Grishka challenges her and tries his best to land one of his atomic punches, but Alita is not easy to land on. She then manages to land a kick on his head, and as she's about to land another deadly kick, she recalls herself fighting in a battle where she's known as 99. Her kick breaks Grishka's arm, and then he manages to escape out of there. Ito then tells her about the bounty on Nisiana, and goes on to add that he uses the money to offer free repairs at his clinic. Alita asks him about her memories, and he tells Alita that her name and body belong to his daughter, who passed away. He tells her that his daughter was bound to a wheelchair, so he built her a cyborg body. We also learn that Ito's daughter was murdered when one of his patients broke into the clinic. This is the reason behind Chiron getting separated from him. Ito tells her that he wanted to avenge his daughter's death, but he felt no peace, even after killing the killer of his daughter. This is when he decided to become a hunter-warrior. Ito then tells Alita that her heart is powered by an antimatter microreader that has the capability of powering Iron City for years. Ito then adds that this technology has not been made since the fall, and that leads him to conclude that Alita is over 300 years old. The scene changes, and we're taken to Vector's place, where he asks Chiron to make motorball champions for him. Grishka then comes to her through the window and begs her to repair him. Chiron does not agree to, but she seems to reconsider when he tells her that Alita is the one who did it to him. The next day at her lab, Chiron sees that Grishka is wired. Vector is not at all interested in helping Grishka, but he seems to have a change of mind when Grishka starts to speak in Nova's voice, who happens to be a notorious and very powerful scientist in Salem. Nova asks what happened to Grishka, and Chiron tells him that Alita beat the crap out of him and now he's here for the repair. At first, he's shocked to learn about a girl having such power. He then goes on to add that her knowledge of Panzerkunst fighting techniques is something unknown to today's fighters, and that's what helped her defeat these cyborgs. Nova then tells Chiron that she's going to repair Grishka in the best way possible, as he wants him to bring Alita dead to him. As he says that, he himself transfers into Vector's body and starts to flirt with Chiron, telling her that he'll take her to Salem if she's able to make him happy. Ito and Alita, on the other hand, see that Grishka is now off the bounty list. They conclude that someone must be protecting him. After that, Alita says that she wants to become a hunter-warrior, as it will help her remember her past. Ito, however, tells her that he's not going to let her become anything like that. So Alita gets upset and runs away. That night, Alita goes out and joins Hugo at a motorball game, where he tells her that the winner of the game gets to go to Salem. As the game goes on, a participant named Kanuba's weapon, called grind cutters, catch Chiron's attention. On the other hand, Tanji comes to Hugo and tells him something important has come up. They right away leave the match. Kanuba then goes outside as two masked motorcyclists try to take him down. Kanuba tries to fight back, but there are too many, and Kanuba is then pulled into a truck. The crew starts to remove his body parts, and Vector gets there appreciating their good work. This is when Hugo removes his mask, and we learn that he and his friends were actually the masked assailants. Vector then pays the boys and tells them to deliver these parts to Dr. Chiron. As they leave, Vector puts an end to Kanuba. Alita goes outside the city with Hugo and his group the next day. They tell her how the war destroyed and wiped out everything outside the Iron City. He adds that all the Sky Cities fell when they went against the United Republic of Mars. Salem is the only city to have survived the war. Hugo then shows Alita a sunken warship that once belonged to URM. These things trigger something in Alita. It seems like she recognizes it as she goes into the water to get inside. She reaches the damaged ship. She then rises from the water and gets to the command deck. Alita then opens the door to another room and finds a big orb in there. She instinctively starts navigating the control board. As she does that, orb reveals a cyborg body. Alita likes what she sees and takes it to Ito. She asks him to replace her body with this one, but he refuses to do so. Alita tries to convince him by telling him that the warship responded to her, so she must have been a warrior back in her days. Ito finally tells her that she is a URM berserker. She happens to be one of the most advanced cyborg weapons that have ever been created. This is the reason he's not going to unite her with the body. Alita has tears in her eyes as she leaves. Alita is, however, adamant that she's going to find out who she was, and for that, she needs to have her memory back. She registers as a hunter warrior. She and Hugo are unable to recruit other hunter warriors to help her take down Grishka. Zapan, a cyborg hunter warrior bully, provokes Alita, and she severely beats him in a fight, triggering a chaotic bar brawl until Ito arrives. When he tries to stop them, none of them listen to him, and he then threatens everyone that he's going to stop repairing them for free. This is when everybody stops. Suddenly, an upgraded Grishka appears. As Hugo looks at him, he right away notices the grind cutters on him. This is what they took from Kanuba. Nobody in there wants to fight Grishka because he does not have a bounty on his head. That street dog, which was once saved by Alita, starts to bark at him. Grishka sarcastically appreciates the little creature's courage, but right away kills the poor thing. A hunter warrior named Matig, who is famous for his love for the dogs, still does not step up to fight. Grishka then challenges Alita to a duel, revealing that he's been sent by Zalem's technocrat overlord Nova to destroy her. Grishka right away attacks her with his grind cutters. He then makes a hole in the ground, jumps down, and Alita follows him. As she lands underground, Grishka tells her that this is where he used to live, and this is where Alita is gonna die. Alita tries to kick off his arm again, but he's more powerful and stronger this time. Despite her combat skills, Alita's body is damaged by Grishka, before Ito, Hugo, and Hunter Warrior Dogmaster Matig arrive and force Grishka to retreat. Ito apologizes and transplants Alita into the Berserker body. Having fallen in love with Hugo, Alita enters a motorball tryout race for the prize money to send Hugo to Zalem. Hugo's relationship with Alita leads him to decide to quit his criminal job. He confronts his partner Tanji, but Zapan appears, kills Tanji, and frames Hugo for the murder of another cyborg. Hugo narrowly escapes and calls Alita for help. She abandons the race and finds him just as Zapan does. Zapan mortally wounds Hugo. Dr. Shiren, having changed her mind about working for Vector, offers to help save Hugo by attaching his severed head to Alita's life support system. When Zapan sees through the trick and attempts to stop Alita, she seizes his prized Damascus blade and disfigures him. Ito transplants Hugo's head onto a cyborg body and tells Alita that Vector's offer to help Hugo reach Zalem was a lie. As an exiled citizen of Zalem, Ito is certain that citizens of Iron City cannot enter Zalem without becoming a motorball champion. Alita storms the factory and confronts Vector, who reveals that Shiren has been harvested for her organs. Vector summons Grishka, but Alita's new nanotech body allows her to easily destroy him. She forces Nova to speak to her through Vector. When Nova threatens to harm her friends, Alita fatally stabs Vector. Ito tells Alita that Hugo has fled to climb a cargo tube towards Zalem. Alita catches up to him and pleads with him to return with her. He eventually agrees, but a serrated defense ring dropped by Nova shreds his body and throws him off the tube. Alita catches him but cannot pull him up. Hugo thanks Alita for saving him before falling to his death. Months later, Alita is a rising superstar in the motorball tournament. Cheered on by the crowd, she pledges vengeance by pointing her plasma-charged sword towards Zalem, where Nova watches from above, smirking. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.